the guy that I've been pounding the table for since 2022, since his rookie season, and that is Brendan Donovan of the St. Louis Cardinals. This is one of my, I think, the guys I have asked for the most in trades over the past few years, and he is good. He is a great player all the way around. I think he even won a Gold Glove at some point, right? Yeah, in his rookie year, he won a Gold Glove. In 2024, had a 2.6 WAR, hit 278, 342, 417 with a 112 OPS plus, 14 home runs, 73 RBI. His K percentage is only 12.4% in 2024 with a 7.2% walk rate. He doesn't hit the ball exceptionally hard, but he does hit line drives quite a bit. And I think that Brendan Donovan, overall, he's just a guy that just makes a lot of sense. He can play at the outfield for you if you need him to. You can put him at third. You can put him at second. He is, and this is something we've talked about with Colby, he is what you want Cole Young to be in a year or two's time. But you can basically get the guaranteed thing right now with Brendan Donovan. All of his power is to the pull side, but he can slap the ball all over the field. He is, in my opinion, the perfect fit this offseason to go get on a second base.
He's in that category of like still relatively affordable, under some decent control. We have what the Cardinals want in young, controllable pitching, not necessarily for next year, but for a year and a half, 2 years time, where an Evans, a Michael Morales, maybe even Emerson Hancock can make sense for them, where you can give them two of those three as like the main idea for this trade package, and then maybe give them someone that's maybe a little bit further away, or if they want like a Ryan Bliss or a utility guy to kind of like figure in there, like you can figure out a trade path for Brendan Donovan. Like you can figure out that avenue because of where the Cardinals are at, and they're taking a year, basically like kind of like a 1 year step back. Let them load up on guys that are going to be 2026 contributors from your farm system, because you probably won't need them at the specific positions that the Cardinals need. And Donovan, like you said, a lot of positional versatility. The one thing I think would be hard is that if the Cardinals are trying to cut down on payroll, Donovan seems like a guy that they'd want to keep. So you will probably have to overpay or like really bid high on Donovan for them to cough him up, because just like how valuable his $3.5 or $3.5 million arbitration year next year is, and going on beyond that of like how much more club control he has, how much like just that he's not going to be overly expensive for them long term. So like how do you kind of offset that? You have to wow them in a trade package. I think also Brendan Donovan answered a lot of questions. A lot of people were saying don't trade for him last offseason because he's having Tommy John. Like, how is that really going to work? Answered a lot of questions defensively. Specifically, he played a lot of outfield for the Cardinals in 2024. So I think that is a good sign for, I'd say, not just only his arm health, but just like in general, like as Donovan as a player. So you're right. He is one I think that makes the most sense. Jude agrees. Do it is his verdict. Donovan is exactly what the Mariners need. My legitimate only concern is how can the Mariners sell the Cardinals on what they have to offer? Because you have to wow them with this.
I think that the other way that the Mariners can go get Donovan, like you can wowing them is obviously like the best way to go get him. You could take on a contract and use Donovan as the guy who is sweetening the deal for you. Now, I don't necessarily know who that contract is, because you probably don't want to take on Nolan Arenado.
No.
But at the same time, like if you can get like Nolan Arenado and Brendan Donovan, and then just like, I don't know, send back like Michael Morales and Dylan Wilson.
I think even then, like Arenado will command enough with just his name alone. Yes, the money's quite a bit there, but like you'd still need to like give them something in return that is valuable to them beyond just one name. Like you'd have to give up something still, even with Arenado's very, 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 very high price tag, just like what he's owed.
I would be okay with trading Cole Young in this deal.
Yeah, you would. Because like you said, Donovan is what you want Cole Young to be. Can they coexist on a roster in a year's time? Yes. Do they need to? No.
And that's why I think that like if you build a package around Cole Young, Logan Evans, honestly, throw in Ryan Sloan. I don't care.
Whoa.
Throw in Jurangelo Sanger. Get Brendan Donovan.
Slow down with the 2024 draft picks, buddy.
Put Brendan Donovan on the Seattle Mariners roster. Listen, the equation is acquire Brendan Donovan, profit.
That's it.
That's the equation.
That's a very simple equation.
At some point, the Mariners just have to stop caring about what it's going to cost. And it has felt over the past couple of years, almost. I don't want to say the Mariners have been prospect hugging, because I don't think that's the case. Because I think that they are building a very good farm system that will contribute.
Mm-hmm.
But it has come to the point now where it's put up or shut up time, especially this year. And the Mariners this offseason, I think, do need to go out there and make a drastic move of some kind. I don't know what that move is going to be, but I think Brendan Donovan does fit that bill. Like, the pandemonium that would occur if the Mariners acquired Brendan Donovan and Nolan Arenado this offseason would be second to none.
It would go hard. It would go crazy.
It'd be the coolest trade in years that I can think of. Like,
probably
honestly,
outside the Castillo trade.
Yeah, I'd say outside of the Castillo trade, probably the most just like pandemonium since just like in general, maybe not necessarily in a good way, but since the Cano trade, in my opinion.
Sure.
I think that it would, because you're bringing in a literal future Hall of Famer in Nolan Arenado, and then you're getting Brendan Donovan, who is very good.
Mm-hmm.
I think that this is the kind of trade the Mariners need to make this offseason, and it'll hurt. But it's something that I think that makes a lot of sense for them to go out there and do.
I think the hard part about how you're kind of saying, like, it feels like they maybe have been doing a little prospect hugging. We've seen the wave of pitchers do so well from like this draft developed strategy. It's just the hitters haven't come, I think, at the same pace. And maybe it's just because they're a year behind, kind of a situation like 2020 maybe set them back with a miss on Emerson Hancock. Had they drafted a position player there, would we have seen that position player already? Yes, without a doubt. It's just they got Emerson Hancock. They probably didn't expect Miller and Wu to develop it the way that they did. And like, now they don't really need Hancock. Could they use that position player that could have been drafted instead? Maybe. So it's like you're waiting on that wave of position player talent. And unfortunately, the identification of major league talent to fill in stopgaps until then hasn't worked out, unfortunately.
If they decide that they want to trade a Cole Young, a Laz Montes this offseason, I am relatively confident in their ability to create the next Cole Young or Laz Montes next year.
Yeah.
And because of that, I think that going out and acquiring what you want Cole Young to be in Brendan Donovan is probably the way they should go.
Because they could just realistically, like, if you're waiting, say, like, on Cole Young, okay, now you trade him. Now you have Donovan. Then you're waiting on Ty Pete, Michael Arroyo, like that crop of probably 3-4 years away guys to develop into your second baseman or just like a utility type player. That could work out in their favor as well. Like if they not necessarily give up on Cole Young, because it's not really giving up on him. It's just like taking him at his, it's not his highest value anymore because he probably has slid down a little bit courtesy of Colt Emerson, but like still at a very high value, a very valuable prospect. I mean, he's a top 100 in a lot of publications. I think pretty much every single one. Will Arroyo or Pete develop into someone of that caliber? Maybe not, but I think it's also a possibility that they could, and you just have Donovan until they're ready.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And Donovan is basically that placeholder. He is the guy that you have on your roster until Ty Pete or whatever is ready. And that's how dynasties are made. Again, we've talked about it a million times at this point, but the Astros, when Carlos Correa left, they're like, okay, Jeremy Pena, here you go. That'll fix it. And it did.
Just gave him the keys.
Fine. Yeah. And they haven't looked back since. And that's how a dynasty is built. That's how a good franchise is built. Especially if you're not spending a ton of money. Like if you're the Dodgers, maybe your franchise is built a little bit more with the cash. But a team like the Mariners, they don't necessarily, well, they do, but they don't have that capital to spend to go out there and say, okay, let's go just fill this hole with all of a sudden Mookie Betts is playing the infield. Mm-hmm. Mariners can't do that. So if they are able to, with getting a guy who you will have control of for the next couple of years of Brendan Donovan, and then basically fill that role with whoever you bring up through the farm system, exactly how dynasties are made. Again, we're so far off base here from where we started this conversation, but I think that it just goes to show that this is the kind of move that will, I mean, it'll create a lot of questions, because if Brendan Donovan doesn't work out, that's a problem. Yeah. That's a very big problem. But at the same time, it's the kind of move that if a team that wants to win, the Mariners want to win the division, this is the move they need to make this offseason.